This is Tim Rogers from Dodgers 2080 and Dodgers Nation. I'm here at Rancho Cucamonga with right-handed starting pitcher Ben Casparius. He is a 2021 draftee, and this is his first full season of professional ball. And so I just wanted to talk real quick about your season so far. First of all, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. So your season so far, we're going to ignore your first outing because everything else has been absolutely brilliant. Just in May, all right, we have 21.2 innings pitched, 30 Ks, only 8 hits. That's elite, folks. That's a 1.13 batting average against. You pull that, you're doing something right. And then the whip was like 0.74. Is that right for May? Holy smokes. Overall, for the season, 29.2 innings pitched, 43 Ks and only 15 hits. Wow. So just thoughts so far in your season and how you're feeling so far.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is my first professional season, so it's a little bit different from college and just, you know, the travel ball circuit growing up. But it's been a lot of fun, and I think most importantly, like, I've learned a lot about myself as a pitcher, and just really like what works for me and what doesn't work for me every day in and out.
Excellent. So to kind of dig a little deeper into you a bit about your past and how you became a professional. Yep. What are some things that you did maybe growing up that either your parents had you do or that you did that you think really benefited you to put you in the place where you are today?
Yeah. I think the most beneficial thing, and not that I was forced to play sports or anything, but I was a well-rounded athlete. I played soccer, baseball, basketball, football pretty much up until my junior year of high school, when I stopped playing basketball and just started focusing on baseball. But just to be able to be outside, form relationships with people on and off the field with different sports, I think that's what like really kind of just groomed me to be who I am today, and just understand the fact that it's a team sport, and what the relationships that you do build obviously help on and off the field. So
yeah, you know, the baseball community, no matter how long you're in it, it's still a very small community.
It is, yeah.
You never know what person's there that you're trying to impress, or that you just don't know is there, and you impress them, and then they go, oh, like maybe some scout that was watching you and said, let's draft this guy.
Yeah.
So speaking of drafting, so you were drafted almost a year ago.
Yeah.
It was a June draft, was it, or July? July.
Yep.
And you were drafted in the 5th round. What are some thoughts just kind of going back and reliving that memory?
It was a stressful day. I mean, I didn't necessarily know where I was going. I did have a very strong feeling I was going to get picked on the second day. We just didn't know whether it would be the 3rd round, 2nd round, 8th round, 9th, 10th round. But I'm just really happy I landed with the Dodgers. It's an unbelievable organization. I've made such big strides since becoming a professional, and when I got that call, it was really special with my family.
Oh, just curious, who calls you when they make the pick?
So my agent called. It was kind of interesting because I was on the phone with another team. I had to hang up on that team, and my agent called me. I think the Dodgers had about like 40 seconds left on the clock or something, and he called me and was like, they're going to take you right here. And it was pretty interesting because I remember asking my dad, like, hey, should I call that team back? And I ended up just not. And we heard my name called, and it was really surreal. I remember it like it was yesterday. I think I probably will for the rest of my life. But it was just the start to something new, and you know, it's been a really fun almost year now. So yeah.
Well, like I think a lot of, especially pitchers, I think they really benefit by being drafted by an organization like the Dodgers. There's some organizations, you probably know of them because you probably had your agent or your advisor at the time was probably going, you don't want to get drafted by X. So, of course, then you started last season. What did you just play in Arizona? Did you play here at all?
I came out here for the last week and a half of the season, so I think I made 3 appearances in that last home stretch, and that was really, I threw 100 innings at school, so I know my buildup was a little bit different than some of the other guys in the class. But I really benefited from, you know, getting to Glendale, putting in some new work, making some adjustments that I had never even really thought of, just because of the resources I had. It wasn't available to me. And it was probably that month and a half or two, and including instructs after the end of the season, was really just an unbelievable time to just focus on myself, selfishly, and just work on pitch design. And I was throwing bullpens Tuesdays and Fridays, and I just saw myself getting a little bit better every single day, and that was really, really cool for me.
Yeah. I mean, the term pitch design is really, that's something that's very new when you think about it. It's like, that really, within the last 5 years, maybe even less, that you started even hearing the term.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I got a feeling someone in the Dodger organization invented it, but or the guys at what's that the pitching place, I can't remember the name.
Tread or
one of those places. There's a
bunch of them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the arm guy or whatever his name. And then so you had now your first real spring training was this year, because you don't have it when you're drafted in July. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about those experiences, maybe some of the coaches, maybe even by name, that maybe made some impacts on you.
I mean, the thing I think that's special about the Dodgers organization is I have a relationship with at least 25 staff members, which is almost overwhelming, but it's not, because there's so many. If I'm working on something with a pitching coordinator, the strength coordinator that I'm working with closely also knows that. So everything is correlated. Everybody knows what's going on. The communication's very, very good. And from there, it made my life a lot easier. Obviously, there's 150-ish guys running around, a pretty small condensed area. So for me to be able to branch out to other coaches and coordinators and just people that have power within the organization and have seen people go from the bottom to the top, it's really cool, because everybody has a different input, and it's important to listen to everybody. You don't necessarily need to take into account everything that people tell you, but to be open-minded and to be willing to learn. That's where I made the most strides in spring training, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I would suggest, just based on talking to a lot of you different guys, the Dodgers value people that are open-minded about these things. And if you're not, it's really not an organization for you. You might as well go to some organization that's not going to do that.
And I think part of it too, honestly, was just you have to have trust in the people you're working with. And maybe it would have been a different situation if I came in and things were digressing. I've been in programs where I've gotten worse. I've been in programs where I've gotten really good really quickly. But the minute I got to Camelback, I was making unbelievable adjustments really quickly, and it was because for the first time I was really focusing on those adjustments too. I wasn't focusing on competing at the time. I was just focusing on getting myself right, getting my body right, starting doing movements that were correlating to what I was working on in the mound, and just putting the trust into those people that are willing to work with you too. That's the biggest difference, for sure, or the biggest aspect to it.
Yeah, and it seems that even in the minor leagues here, and sometimes you might even see it in the majors, like in certain situations where maybe a pitcher or a hitter is struggling in something, but it's not really, their numbers don't look good, but maybe it's because they're working on something. Yeah. And it seems like now's the time to do that instead of
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think every single start I've had this year, me and Duran, our pitching coach, we've had a different goal every game, whether it's let's try to implement the cutter to lefties a little bit more inside. Let's try to, let's use the fastball a little bit more with 2 strikes. Let's be in the zone early on in the game with off speed to be able to expand off of that. It's just little stuff every game, and he's willing to challenge me every time I go out there, because at the end of the day, it's about progression and development. And if the more tunnels I can create on the mound, the more opportunity I'm going to have to get people out and to make it a little bit easier on myself.
Yeah. So those are kind of those deep dive type things. But if you look at, there was a tweet out by Mike Petriello that talked about, it showed a graph of hard hit balls off of pitchers. Yeah. And it's very slow progression until the end, and then it dropped off the cliff with the Dodgers. Yep. The hard hit off them it's much different. Yeah. And so you can see that the work is there. And this is what Ben's going through. He's living it, and so the context is hopefully a little less, because those boys can hit hard. So we talked a little bit about some things that you've already been doing, but what are some is there specific 1 or 2 things you go, man, this is the thing that's really helped me step it up this year?
I just, like I said before, I think it's just the trust and the relationships that I've had with our coaching staff and coaches, our players, and everybody I'm surrounded by is a professional baseball player. So for the majority of the time, just how the layout is, I'm with pitchers. So we're constantly talking about, this really worked for me. I started doing this stretch or this drill and this treatment, and I'm having good feedback with that. And I think that's, I love this team because everybody's very open with what works for them and willing to share that information. So it's interesting. Like I'm living with a kid from Taiwan who barely speaks any English, and then I'm living with a first rounder from Alabama who was playing in high school last year, where I'm on my second college and I'm 23 years old. So it's just a different look from all over the world, really, all over the country, and just everybody's in a different spot, and it's cool to see kind of the progression that everybody makes.
Yeah, that's really good insight on how this all works.
Yeah.
I'm expecting that you're not going to finish the season here. I'm expecting you to go to Great Lakes, and I'm assuming it's going to be the same type thing. It's just a different group of people with the same vision.
Absolutely.
So what are some things that you're trying to improve, maybe get a little bit better at?
I think just my routine in general, and I think obviously we talked about that first start a little bit. It was. It's hard to differentiate. We went through spring training. I got there early. I came out a little bit early in early February, late January. Mm-hmm. And for that entire time, I was throwing off the mound, but it wasn't competitive. It was just more pitch design and getting my arm acclimated to, a 160-game season. And when I got out here, I felt like the first couple starts I had, I needed to get myself back into game mode rather than, working on stuff out there on the game mound where I need to do that every other day. And then when I get out there, it's just I got to let everything else take care of itself. And that's where we really hammered down on routine. We really hammered down on my prep before the game, after the game, getting myself to come down a little bit and breathe. And I've just felt that maturity aspect come in really quickly in the last month or so, and just really finding like a good groove with what I'm doing 2 days out, 3 days out, the day after, and then obviously on game day I have a pretty strict routine now.
Right. So yesterday you threw 5 innings, no hits. How many pitches did you throw? Do you remember?
I think it was 68.
Okay.
Maybe 69. I remember I was in the 60s, so I think it was high 60s, which I was happy about just because I know that first inning I probably threw in maybe the low 20s, so I was able to bounce back a little bit and put 5 down for us. Yeah.
Well, if you look up Ben Casparius on MILB and look at the game logs, you're going to see just a nice trend, and it's a really good trend to see. And so it's exciting to watch pitchers and players like Ben that come here and are learning and are growing, and we're looking forward to maybe seeing you at Dodger Stadium someday. And if you are at Dodger Stadium someday, what would be your walk-up song?
That's a really good question. You put me on the spot. Probably "Kickstart My Heart." By Motley Crue. Yeah, I walked out to one of their songs last year, and it was a good year. So I don't think I would change a thing, honestly.
That's a good one. They're
get everybody
fun.
Going a little bit. Yeah,
definitely.
So it's good energy, but I think that would probably be the go-to if I had to choose.
Good
At least
call.
right now,
I like that. Yeah, that's one of my
too.
favorite Motleys. Yeah, it's younger. It's older than you are.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yep.
Well, cool. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time. Let the fans get to know you a bit.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we will see you out probably another 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, I'll be. I think we're looking for a Wednesday start next week.
Wednesday. Where are you guys at?
I think we're. It's not Lake Elsinore. It's
San Bernardino.
No, it's Empire.
Oh, Inland Empire. So that is San Bernardino.
So that's okay.
So,
very close.
So
Almost.
For you Southern Californians, they'll be playing the 66ers, which is the Angels affiliate.
Yeah.
So really cool. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate
Thanks for
this.
having me. I
All right,
appreciate
thanks.
it.
That was great. Thank you.
Yeah,
man.